I mean, I totally understand, and I know you, and again, like you said at the beginning, I think that there is, and we can talk a little bit about that, as well, and talk a little bit about that stigma and that stereotype of being vegan, because I think that that scares a lot of people away from it as well, in the sense of, like, they're just afraid that they're gonna do something wrong, or that they're going to be judged for it, or that they're gonna be, like, just harshed on by it, and so can you talk a little bit about that, and how maybe you've worked to not be that way and not push that stereotype and stigma on people?
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm scared about. Like, even with this podcast, I was like, I don't want people to think I'm like some mean person. But like, that's also why sometimes I'm hesitant. Like, I don't necessarily always bring up that I'm vegan. Like, if I'm just meeting someone and they're just like, oh, why aren't you like eating that pasta with cheese? And I'm like, oh, I didn't want it, you know? And I feel like there are some vegans that their approach to, I guess, air quote, educating people is very like shameful. And they're like, oh no, like you can't, like eating animals, you're terrible. I know there's this one TikTok lady called like the vegan teacher, and everyone hates her. And that she's kind of like the stereotypical vegan that just like shames people. And so that's definitely, I'm scared of being seen as that. Um, and I also think there's a stereotype of vegans like just like eating salad and eating kind of boring food and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like I know, um, like sometimes my cousins they would like tease me about that. They'd be like, "Oh, like what do you eat?" Because like they're very like their family like hunts and stuff, so they don't really understand that. And I was
Mhm.
like, "No, like there's all stuff different stuff that I can eat." Um, but yeah, so whenever I'm like talking about it, I don't think I'm ever harsh. I just try to have like a welcoming environment, you know?
Yeah. And how do you go about kind of sharing that without, like, being so harsh on them, without being like, "You're doing this to, like, these animals," or something like that? How do you kind of, like, open that door and, like, welcome them in as an invitation without kind of commanding them or forcing them or making them feel like evil?
I think well, sometimes I just started off like I'll just give them vegan food. Like I remember last year I brought cookies and they were vegan and like I just told people they were cookies. And then they're like I was like, "Are they good?" And they were like, "Yeah, they're really good." And then I was like, "Well, they're vegan." And they were like, "Wait, what?" Like, "No way." So I just kind of I'm like, "Yeah, like not all vegan food is like bad and like grass or whatever you think it is." And so then from that, I feel like I at least whenever I talk to people about it, I kinda leave out, like, the whole gruesome part of it a little bit, and I just tell them why I went vegan.